All right, we're going to be talking about some movement screens today. So, one of the most important things I want you to take away from this conversation is that the movement screen is designed to be a quick day to day analysis of how your joints move so that the next thing that you do from a mobility or an activation or a soft tissue perspective is more efficient. That's what the movement screen is all about. It is a quick tool to give you some actionable data as to what you should do next. Absolutely, the movements I'm going to show you have some mobility qualities of their own and could be a standalone, quick warm up, get the joints moving before more dynamic efforts. However, they should also give you some good data as to what joints may need some greater attention before moving into some of these other things. So all it is some data collection, get about 5 reps of each, pay attention to the movements, pay attention to what you feel like on a good day versus a bad day, learn your body, find your grind, and let me know if you have any questions.
The first movement in the movement screen is to elongate or lengthen the spine. Make sure to keep the knees soft and drive the arms overhead by driving the tailbone straight up into the air. You're looking to feel any tension in between the mid-back, at the shoulders directly, or underneath the shoulders near the armpits. In a similar version of the same movement, you will now start to look for tension in the calf and hamstring by pumping each leg individually, specifically looking for any asymmetries between left and right. Sitting back into your heels, looking for any tension in the hips, trying to relax the low back before reaching off to one side and returning to the same position. We are assessing for any lateral tension between the hips and the ribs, any tension at the armpit, and more importantly, is it different from left to right? Assessing hip flexor and low back tension by driving the glutes forward and hips to the floor. It's very important that you don't overextend the back by utilizing your glutes and protecting your low back as you drive your hips forward to the floor, slowly dropping one hip or the other, looking for any asymmetrical tension between the right or left hip. In a different view of the overhead exercise, you can see the emphasis on trying to get the arms overhead. Softening the knees is imperative so that the focus of the exercise is driven towards the mid-back and shoulders. Similarly, in a different view of the child's pose exercise, you can see how we are trying to reach forward and to the side to assess any tension between the hips and ribs, at the armpit, or any asymmetrical pinch in the front of the hip girdle. The standing version of the hip flexor stretch is guided by an overhead reach, but we want to protect the low back and any overarching by squeezing the glute, looking for tension in the hip flexor, shoulder girdle, or back. Assessing the groin muscles by stretching to the side, continuing to reach overhead. It's imperative that you load the heel on the lunging leg and push back into the hip. In a similar view of the overhead reach and the step back lunge, on a lateral view, emphasizing keeping the stretched leg flat as you load into the hip. We will continue to assess rotation in the mid-back and lower back by moving into a tripod position. It's important that your head and hand move together as you move into rotation. After you've done a few reps, get a little further into hip flexor stretch. Continue to have your head follow your hand by making a circle with your fingers, assessing for any tension in the neck, chest, shoulder, low back, or hip. Anything that's different from left to right will be a focus of future stretching. Continuing to assess pure rotation of the mid-back. The head follows the hand, again, looking through the circle of your fingers. It's imperative that the neck move along with the hand so you can assess any rotational deficit in your neck as well as your chest, shoulder, low back, and hips. To further assess the hip, move into a 90-90 position. Keep the spine nice and tall. Keep the chest proud and drive forward up and over the knee. Add rotation into a different plane. Start to reach with the hand. It's important that the hand posted up on the ground stay as locked as possible and support a tall spine. Every rotation, try to take a different angle as far as height is concerned, reaching up higher and higher with each stretch, exposing any different fiber angles in the hip that may expose tension that will need to be worked further.